What's up, NFL fans? So, my New York Jets are on bye, so there's no game for me to review. But instead, I want to give a warning. Do not tank. Tanking does not work in the NFL. And I'm going to run through why. So, first off, for me, anyways, tanking is very prominent in the NBA. And I think when I think about tanking, that's what I think about. But to be fair, I'm not as familiar with the NBA as I am with the NFL. But, in the NBA, it kind of does work out sometimes, right? Like you can get a generational talent in the number one overall pick, um, and I think lots of this like analytics tanking stuff comes from the Philadelphia 76ers and Sam Hinkie, who kind of said it out loud. Well, previously teams have like set themselves up to failure to get the number one overall draft pick. This is the first general manager, if you guys aren't familiar, who I think kind of who said it out loud, who said, I'm going to lose because I want the number one overall pick and as many picks as possible. And the NBA actually ousted him for saying it out loud because it made the sport uncompetitive. But it's very prominent in the NBA. That's why they have like a draft lottery and stuff. And well, it can work. And well, why can it work in the NBA and not in the NFL? Well, there's a few reasons. One, the NBA has 5 starters. So, and the NFL has 22 actually, and that's 22 starters if you don't count special teams. So, in the NBA, let's say you get the number one overall pick and he's actually like the greatest player ever. In the NBA, you just found yourselves a Hall of Famer, and 1/5 of your starting team is now a Hall of Famer, right? So that's a lot. 1/5 is a lot. 1/5 of your team is locked in. You're ready to go. In the NFL, you find yourself a Hall of Famer, probably a quarterback, because that's what we're going to be talking about. And typically, when teams tank in the NFL, that's who they're trying to get, a star quarterback. You get one player out of 22. So you have locked in 1/22 of your starters. So you see the fraction is far more smaller. And I know quarterback is the most important position, and not all positions are made equally in the NFL. But all I'm saying is in the NBA, you find yourself the number one overall pick. You might have just locked in 1/5 of your starters. But in the NFL, it's 1 out of 22. That is nothing. So the numbers don't really work out. And then there's another reason why tanking not as much doesn't work out, but why it's actually, I think, a lot harder to tank in the NFL. In the NFL, there are 17 games versus the NBA where there's 82. So think about that. 82 games, you win a couple by accident. Oh well, like not the biggest deal in the world because there's 82. In the NFL, however, you win one game by accident, you could drop down multiple positions in the draft. And this happened so many times, especially in recent memory. Um, and and that's why they say any given Sunday in the NFL, really. But I remember my New York Jets were trying to tank for Trevor Lawrence, and they won a game. So that meant they ended up with Zach Wilson. So that really didn't work out. Um, the Dolphins were like on paper like one of the worst teams in the NFL, and then they accidentally were really good, and that kind of threw their whole plan and they threw their whole plan out. But their plan was to be bad, so being good was actually a problem. No, that's really dumb. Um, and then last year, actually, the Texans were trying to get Bryce Young, and they accidentally won a game. I think it worked out for them in the end, but if they were trying to tank, then winning a game in the NFL is such worse of a problem than the NBA. You win one game by accident, oh well, there's 81 more games to go. You win one game in the NFL by accident, you could fall down multiple positions in the draft. And so it just doesn't, that's a reason why it really doesn't, another reason why it really doesn't work in the NFL, because it's so much harder to do. So it's really not going to work out. But let's say it does work out. This is every single quarterback drafted number one overall in the past 2 decades, I believe. And so let's just go through them and let's see how well tanking. And unless not all these teams tanked, but let's say you did tank, you get the number one overall pick. Let's see how likely it is for you to win the Super Bowl. Eli Manning, right? 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants. Actually, great job. He wasn't actually drafted, he didn't win 2 Super Bowls with the team that drafted him. That was the Chargers, but his career worked out and he won Super Bowls. All right, now let's look at literally everyone else. No one else has won a Super Bowl for the team they were drafted for, and no one else has won a Super Bowl except for Matthew Stafford, who did not win it with the team that drafted him and lost a bunch of games to get him. Um, Alex Smith is after Eli Manning. He's okay, never won a Super Bowl. Jamarcus Russell, one of the biggest NFL busts in the history of the NFL. Obviously didn't work out. Matthew Stafford, really good, never won a Super Bowl with the Lions. So the Lions lost every single game to get him, and they ended up with 0 Super Bowls. Sam Bradford, once again, never won a Super Bowl. Cam Newton, he made it to the Super Bowl with the Panthers, never won, and kind of flamed out. Andrew Luck, I think one of the biggest examples, suck for luck, as they said. Never won a Super Bowl. Um, he was really good, but they absolutely destroyed him. And I'll get to that. What happens when you draft a quarterback? Jameis Winston never won a Super Bowl with the Bucks. They did end up winning a Super Bowl, but not with him. Jared Goff made it to the Super Bowl with the Rams. Once again, the Rams didn't lose the game. They actually traded up for that pick, but they never won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Once again, they got rid of him and got Matthew Stafford. And once again, Jared Goff isn't that bad either. He's doing pretty good in the Lions, but the team he never won with the team that picked him. Baker Mayfield. The Browns were absolutely terrible for multiple years in a row just to get Baker Mayfield, who has not won a Super Bowl with the Browns. He's not even on the Browns anymore. Kyler Murray. Once again, the Cardinals lost all these games to get Kyler Murray. He's not even playing for them anymore. Joe Burrow. He kind of has worked out, and he's pretty young, but as of now, he has not won a Super Bowl with the Bengals. He lost a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence, once again, early on, like his rookie year, it really didn't look like it was working out. He seems to be a good quarterback, but he has still yet to win a Super Bowl. And then Bryce Young, the Panthers once again traded up for that pick, the number 1 overall pick. He has done absolutely nothing, and he looks terrible. He looks absolutely terrible. Or maybe his team does, but he hasn't won a single game in the NFL right now. So this is what happens when you tank or when you get the number 1 overall pick. The best quarterbacks, probably Andrew Luck, Eli Manning, or Joe Burrow. And once again, those are really good quarterbacks, Andrew Luck and Joe Burrow. And then Eli Manning is the only one of these guys to win a Super Bowl, though, on the team. Well, they didn't draft him, but on the team that he ended up on draft night, I suppose. But Matthew Stafford and Eli Manning are the only quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl. So all these quarterbacks, to get the first overall quarterback, you have to lose so many games, and all these quarterbacks, really nothing, really nothing. And let's talk about losing all those games, right? These are the 2 teams that lost every game. The Lions got Matthew Stafford. The Browns actually got Myles Garrett, I believe, when they went 0-16. But then the year later, I believe they got Baker Mayfield. But look at this. Think about the Lions. What do you think about when you think about the Lions or the Browns, right? Even though they're actually kind of playing well this year, but the culture of them is they're bad. Those are losing teams. And okay, what does culture mean, right? And I get that as like a numbers person, as an on paper person, I get culture is kind of this abstract thing that really doesn't matter. But while the idea of culture itself doesn't matter, the ramifications very much matter a lot, especially in the NFL. So, and as a Jets fan, I know about losing culture, and I know what happens when you have a losing culture, and that's part of the reason why I was so excited for Aaron Rodgers. But that's neither here nor there. A losing culture, think about what it means, the ramifications to attract free agents. Either they won't play with you, or if they will play with you, they will want big contracts. So you have to give free agents bigger contracts than winning teams like the Chiefs or the Patriots used to be. They used to get very cheap contracts because players wanted to win. So when you tank for a quarterback, you earn a losing culture. And then players don't want to be on that team, so then the quarterback you get is all by themselves. And so it's harder to get free agents, but not just that. Think about what all the teams have done. Like, think about the Chiefs. What's one of the biggest things in the NFL? The cap isn't real, right? The reason the cap isn't real is because players renegotiate their contract, but no one, and they're willing to do that if they're on winning teams. No one's gonna renegotiate their contract on the Browns or like the Lions or past Browns, past Lions, I mean, or the losing teams like the Cardinals. No one's gonna renegotiate their contract unless it's to get out of that team. So if they make the contract shorter, if they make it easier for them to get cut. So earning a losing culture means it's harder to attract free agents, and once you get good players, they won't help you out. They won't take team friendly deals. They won't renegotiate their contract. They will want as much money because they're not winning, so might as well get paid, right? And so that's what happens when you begin to tank, and that's what happens. Tanking makes you have a losing culture. So great, you have this 22-year-old quarterback who may be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, or statistically more likely an average to bad quarterback. Honestly, his career does not turn out, but you have that quarterback, and then you can't surround him with anything. Once again, that's going back to the 1/5 problem with the basketball has versus 22 starters, which the NFL has. So you're really not getting anything. So, conclusion, right? I've seen a few teams trying to tank for Caleb Williams, who's the hot new quarterback that's probably going to go number 1 overall. And so now, with all this evidence, should you, like what people think the Cardinals are doing, but they accidentally won some games and they accidentally look good, which for some reason is a problem, which is so backwards in my mind, that being good is a problem, but the Cardinals and a few other teams I think are clearly trying to tank for the number 1 overall pick in order to pick Caleb Williams. So great, you have one kid who may work out and be one of the top tier quarterbacks, or statistically more likely will not work out at all, either because we can get into why the number 1 overall pick doesn't really work out as much as it should, like when he should be the best rookie, but he will not. So you get Caleb Williams, who may or may not work out, or should you earn a winning culture? Should you fight tooth and nail? And the players do fight. I'm not saying there's any player in the NFL who tries to lose games. It's the GMs or even the owners who set their teams up for failure. So if you're a GM or owner, do you try to get as many good players as possible, and you go out on the field and you have them play as hard as possible and see if you can win games and slowly and steadily build a team up? You get not one great player, you get a few good players, and you build that team in a bunch of average, slightly above average players. I think the answer is clear. I think tanking does not work in the NFL. You want to build your team the way teams are supposed to be built. You want to build your team the right way. You don't want to tank it. Tanking does not work in the NFL, and I'm sick and tired of seeing my Jets. I don't know if they were really tanking, but fans saying, "Oh, we should lose these games." No, it does not work. It has never worked in the NFL. And I warn any team that's trying to get Caleb Williams. He cannot do it. No quarterback can do it all by themselves. You need to build the team the right way, and getting the number 1 overall pick is not building the team the right way. Anyways, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.